Welcome to case study number 1, part 2. If you'll remember from the last video, we finished off with the scatter plot of total gross sales against, number of theaters against total gross sales, excuse me. That's this graph we have right here. And to keep things easy, I'm going to create another sheet. This is going to be sheet number 11, if it works. Here we go, number 11. I'm going back here. I'm going to cut and paste my graph onto sheet 11 so that I can do these in order. So, total gross sales against the number of theaters. I'm going to erase or delete this column. And now we're going to do weeks in release. I'm going to copy. Oops, sorry. Can't do that. Before I do that, I'm going to insert a row. Get that to work. Right click, insert. Right click, right click, copy. Right click, paste. Weeks in release, total gross sales. Now I'm going to highlight those two columns, weeks in release, which is on the left. That'll be on the x-axis. Total gross sales will be on the y. I'm going to highlight the whole two columns. And we're going to go to insert, and we're going to go to scatter plot. Do our scatter plot. We will label our axes, add chart element, axis title, primary horizontal. That is total weeks of release. So we'll put release in weeks. Oops. I'll go on my X. For my Y, which is my primary vertical, that's going to be total gross sales. Oops. Click on there and erase that box. There we go. Total gross sales in millions of dollars. Total gross sales in millions versus weeks released. Yeah, we might call that a scatter plot. Okay, now I'm going to create another sheet. Oops. Number 12, go back to my data here. We're finished with that. I'm going to copy. Actually, I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut and paste. So I have all, I have all of the charts and tables that were required of this problem. What I'm going to do next is open a Word file. A new Word file. Blank document. And what we're going to do is we're going to go matching our assignment here, tabular and graphical summaries for each of the 4 variables, along with the discussion of what each summary tells us about the motion picture industry. So I'm going to go back to my Excel. I'm going to start with the first one, sheet 6. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to highlight this first frequency table distribution. And I'm going to go back to my Word file, and I am going, the new one I created, not this one. There we go. And I'm going to paste it. That thing looks huge. Okay. What I could do is arrange this, make it smaller. I'll let you do that, make it neater. But then underneath it, I'm going to write this is a frequency distribution for, and this was for, I believe, opening gross sales for movies from 2011. And then you could fill in a little bit of description here. Then underneath that, we'll put this chart. We're going to copy it and paste it. Okay. So I've written something here. You're going to fill this in, introducing what you're talking about, what we're looking at initially, and what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is examine the relationships between gross sales and opening sales, number of theaters, and weeks that it's been released. And we'd write all that out. Pasting my graph here. We would do that for all of these tables. This is the table. Copy. See, I hit Control C. You can also hit Control C to copy those. Going back here. When you get to do a graph, you got to hit Enter after it. Okay, I would have written something here introducing what that was. And we're doing this for all these different ones. I'm not going to do all of them. And then I would write up a summary, okay? This is the information we used to do our analysis. So that was on table 7, 8, 9. Sheet 10 was where we started the dot plots. This is the important information. Now, what we're looking for here is a relationship between opening gross sales per movie in millions and gross sales in millions. It's the total amount the movie bought in over its run. Now, this data, as you see here, is upward sloping into the right. It's pretty obvious that there's a positive relationship. As opening gross sales increases, so does the gross sales for the movie. Now, if I had a problem with this, I wasn't sure. I could just highlight one of these dots and type in add a trend line. And you can see here, this is a pretty obvious example that there's an upward and to the right slope to these data points. That as opening gross sales increase, so does gross sales per million. And that's what we call a positive relationship. Another example of a positive relationship would be the more videos you watch, the more studying you do, the better grade you're going to get in your class. So there's a positive relationship between studying and your grade. As the number of hours you study goes up, so does your grade. So we've got that relationship here. Now, it defaults usually to linear. And this appears to be a very linear relationship. If it were curved or something like that, we could stick different types of graphs in there. That would be exponential. Maybe this could be exponential. Logarithmic, you can see it increases at an increasing rate and then hits a point and then it increases at a decreasing rate, but it's still increasing. Polynomial, we don't have a polynomial relationship here. Power, moving average, which is only for time series. We'll stick with linear for these examples. So then I would copy and paste this into my Word document. There's the end. I'd have a write up here. If you put something on there, write something about it. At least tell me what it is. Here we're doing analysis. I might title this, maybe in bold, analysis. We may call this first section here. We'll call that raw data. Make this look like a report, a business report. In your mind, think, I'm showing this guy what I've learned about movie sales. Now here, total gross sales, I would put here the data from charts 1. And also label these, put a name for them. So here, this is going to be scatter plot number 1, gross sales, and I'll call this against. And you have to forgive my spelling here. I'm trying to talk right and watch the keyboard at the same time and hold a microphone. Gross sales against opening gross sales. So plot number 1, scatter plot number 1. I don't want that separated. There we go. And then I'm going to explain what's going on here. The data from charts 1. Actually, scatter plot 1 now. Scatter plot 1. I'm going to change that. Renamed it. Scatter plot number 1 indicates a positive relationship between opening sales and gross sales for a motion picture. Okay. Then you might want to put information in there on why you think this is. And I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say I said, well, films that open big have a lot of people who've watched them and are excited about them. And when they have a big opening weekend, everybody goes out after the movies to work or school on Monday and tells everybody about the fantastic movie they want, and the movies get free advertising, or the movies, whatever information you have on movies that you think would lead to this positive relationship between total gross sales and opening gross sales. The bottom is always your independent variable. Opening gross sales aren't dependent on gross sales for their value. But we're implying in this graph that gross sales does have its value, is determined in part by opening gross sales. It is the dependent variable, always on the Y, the independent variable on the X. The next thing we're going to do is go to sheet 11, total gross sales against number of theaters. And I was typing fast and looking. I fixed that. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my Word document. Okay. I'm going to have all my explanation here. Then I'm going to put in bold scatter plot 2. Number 2, and I'm going to give it a title, and this was gross sales against number of theaters. I can't get my fingers here. The film was released in. I'm about to run out of time, so we're going to have to continue on with another video. Okay? Then I'm going to paste, hit Control V. I'm going to paste this new chart in there. And that's the end of this video. We'll continue in video 3.